How do you deal with a girlfriend who will stonewall you after a minor fight?
Well, in my personal experience, I had a lot of women do that to a degree, and you can tell them, come on, what's going on? You got to talk to me. But some women, I've had one girlfriend that was just, I don't want to talk about it. Boom, she'd hang up on me and I wouldn't hear from her for 2, 3 days. And, as hot as she was, as smoking hot as she was, and as fun as she could be to be with, the juice was not worth the squeeze. And after a while, when you like the easy button, easy going, easy to get along with, some women are just sassy and bitchy, and that's their personality. And I couldn't do it. I was like, no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. You gotta lovingly call her out, and that's part of setting and enforcing healthy boundaries. And if she continues doing it over and over and over again, it's like, nobody wants to be in a relationship with a woman that hangs up or refuses to talk because that's what she learned from her family. And so when she feels you've been punished enough and suffered enough without her or hearing from her for days, and then the worst part, and those, like that particular one, is when she would get back in touch, she would not want to talk about anything. I don't want to talk about it. She literally would not refuse. So instead of discussing what happened, it's just sweeping under the rug and pretend it didn't exist and never happened. And I just want to have fun and act like it never happened. And that gets old really quick. And that's why no matter how hot she is, somewhere there's a dude that's tired of fucking her, and that's what happened with that particular girlfriend. As hot as she was, and if I showed you guys pictures, you'd be like, damn, because everybody that met her would be like, whoa, they were shocked at how beautiful she was. Didn't matter. After the hotness could not overcome the bad attitude and the passive aggressiveness and the unwillingness to communicate. But there's other guys out there that like that shit and they'll put up with it. But me, nope, I don't want to deal with that. It's not worth it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze.
It's definitely 110% toxic.
Yeah,
and the last thing, and
it's
the last
abusive.
thing,
It's mentally abusive,
toxic,
emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, because they're preventing you from resolving anything, and they're mentally torturing you.
And it boils up inside.
By giving you the silent treatment, and it's like you go through that enough. It's like the hotness. It just makes you go. Mr. Snuffleupagus goes,
no, it's
I think I'm going to pass.
Well, they can't take responsibility for their own mistakes, but if you did something wrong, they would sure to be on your ass and talk about it.
They're very immature about it, clearly. But
there's definitely something that happened.
Well, they were very single quickly.
Yeah, I mean, and also as well, like, one thing that the viewers should be mindful of is ask yourself, do you want to go to sleep at night upset? Or do you want to have a really good night rest and wake up fresh and positive the next day?
Wood.
Because imagine 2 or 3 days without talking to that person, you just hang up. You kind of left them hanging.
I thought we figured we were not together anymore after that. You didn't talk to me for 2 to 3 days. I guess we ain't together anymore.
Nobody wants to go to sleep mad.
Haven't heard from you.
Nobody wants to go to sleep mad.
I already forgot about you.
The viewers should be mindful. Hey, like, do you want to go to sleep mad? I don't think you want to. So
she wanted to. No matter how hot she is, somewhere there's a dude that's tired of fucking her and putting up with her shit. And I was that guy.
Or a girl who's tired of putting up with his shit.
I was that guy. True.
Precisely.
But the hotness factor, the hotter they are, the higher the incidence of craziness.
Character really makes a huge difference on the person.
Destiny.
For sure.
Faux show. So at the end of the day, like I was saying, you got to set and enforce the boundaries. And if, like in my case, eventually I had to give her the gift of missing me permanently. I couldn't deal with it. It's like, no.
And it's another thing that's like very concerning, because what the concern I have for the viewer is, what are the chances that, say, he brings up something else and it's supposed to be a mature but uncomfortable conversation, that if you have a really clear communication, like if you have a healthy communication with that person, do you feel comfortable enough to be able to talk to her and have those uncomfortable conversations? Because clearly it doesn't sound like she's comfortable with those conversations, and she does the immature thing by just hanging up the phone on him. That's really annoying.
You can't solve problems unless you can talk openly and honestly about them. And somebody that stonewalls you, that's unloving. That's abusive. It's abusive behavior. And if they won't stop it, then you got to remove yourself from it. If I'd have been a younger man, if I'd have been 10 years younger, 15, well, maybe 15 years younger, I probably would have put up with it I would have been one of those supplicating beta males, and then I would have got dumped anyways, just because I didn't stand up to her. But
It's just like you're keeping you're biting your tongue the whole time, and it's like it's
you're
not fair.
disrespecting yourself at
It's
that
not fair
point.
for him, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not. So
that's part of being a man, is you get strong enough to walk away from those women as hot as they are. It's like you got to say, "See ya."
I don't
How
even
does that
think
Playboy
it's
model
a man
was? I was like, I don't want to deal
or
with
a
that
woman.
mess.
I think it's just a human being who has self-respect.
Yep.
yeah.
But the thirst is real. The thirst is real. A lot of people put up with a lot of crap they shouldn't, but
Well,
they
the
do.
sex might be really good,
Yeah.
but sometimes you gotta just walk away.
There's always a balance to those things. It's like you have to really like consider those kinds of options. It's like, yeah, the sex may be great, but is it worth
The
driving
juice was not
your-
worth the squeeze.
Is it worth driving yourself crazy? You know, because in a relationship, sex shouldn't always be like the number one thing. Granted, it's part of the relationship, but that shouldn't
a lot
always
of
be
work.
like your number one utmost top priority. Like there's more to that than just sex.
You can do it yourself.
It's a lot
That
of work.
too.
Girls are a lot of work, especially in the bedroom.